Be ready, 5 seconds. This year has posed a very unique and unprecedented challenge to the world because we had to face a once in a century pandemic. Across the world, schools, universities, and institutions of higher learning suffered greatly, and students in most universities and schools across the world had to discontinue their education for a period of 1 year. In most advanced countries, students were not allowed to take examinations and they were made to repeat the whole year because they could not face the examinations because of classes not taking place. The sole exception to this global reality was India, because under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as soon as the pandemic started in the country, digital education and giving education through every mode possible, whether it was through TV, whether it was through radio, whether it was through podcast, was utilized and ensured that though schools were closed, learning did not stop in India. In that direction, at the very outset, I want to congratulate our Prime Minister as well as the Minister for Education for unprecedented leadership in this COVID period. I would just want to recollect some very important steps that were taken during this time. Under the PM Vidya Diksha program, which was launched in May 2020 under the Atmanirbhar Bharat program, a digital infrastructure for education was created. Many members were rightly raising questions on how many students has this reached out to, or how many students in a country as diverse as ours could benefit out of this. It is a matter of great pride to place on record that this platform, the PM eVidya Diksha platform, which is based on artificial intelligence and it is highly scalable, has since the lockdown received 1,000 crore page hits and over 40 crore scans of video content. This is the highest ever in the world. It is a first initiative as well as the highest reach initiative, and a special congratulation must go to the Minister of Education for bringing this pioneering leadership. Madam, at the same time, textbooks in 31 Indian languages with QR code embedded literature and material was given to more than 45 crore elementary school children in the country. More than 3,800 textbooks of various grades of states and union territories, including over 350 textbooks of NCERT and 15 Gyanvani FM radio channels, All of these were incorporated to ensure that learning did not stop during the pandemic. At the very same time, the government also ensured that examinations were also held on time. Perhaps India is the only country in the world today which has held all examinations, including school examinations and the examinations to the highest learning institutions, universities, on time during the pandemic, and for that reason again, the Prime Minister as well as this government deserves special recognition and special praise. Even during this COVID pandemic, this country formulated and adopted the National Education Policy 2020. Madam, the National Education Policy 2020 is going to be the most important, the most comprehensive, as well as the most far reaching reform ever made in history of India. It is directly going to affect the largest number of population, especially the population of young Indians across the country. This policy is reviewing India's education policy after 1986, that is, after a long period of 36 years. I would just want to use this opportunity to place on record a few observations on the national education policy and how this is going to transform the future of this country. Madam, India has a very hoary tradition of educational institutions. Before the British came, we had excellent universities like the Nalanda and the Takshashila. All of these universities were centers of excellence for the students around the world. It was attracting students from different parts of the world. Unfortunately, from the time of British, the Macaulayan education systematically destroyed the very spirit of indigenous education. After 1947, we had a golden opportunity to set this record straight and revisit the strength of the traditional Indian education system. However, post 1947, they did not reform this education system but only continued the faulty British education system in letter and spirit. For the first time in India's independent history, in 2020, this government, under the leadership of our Prime Minister, has ushered in the national education policy, which is a root and branch transformation of the Indian education policy and puts a full stop to the Macaulayan draconian system of education. Let me just put on record two or three important facets of this education policy. Madam, most of us are educated members of parliament. We have seen from schooling and primary education. The primary education system in India was woefully afflicted by two very important problems. One was the problem or challenge of enrollment of students, ensuring accessibility and affordability of primary education.